Welcome to Hope on Fire, relevant talk radio for young adults. Whether you're 25 or 45, there's bound to be a discussion that you care about. Our mission is to share practical ways to find God in your everyday life. And now today's host, Chris Lang.
Our bodies are fine-tuned machines. If we don't give them what they need, the engine will sputter at best and shut down at worst. Unless you exited the womb with instructions tattooed on your stomach, what you decide to put in there can be nearly as random and ill-considered as filling your car's gas tank with baby shampoo. Correcting dietary mistakes might be the key to getting the energy and sense of well-being that you've always wanted. Hello, my name is Chris Lang, and I'll be your host today on this second of a two-part series entitled, Is Your Diet Killing You? Last week we discussed a number of typical nutritional mistakes that people often make and offered information to help you avoid those landmines of confusion. If you missed the program, just visit our website at hopeonfire.org, and there you can subscribe to our video or audio podcasting service. I want to introduce again some incredible people here in the studio with me. You saw them last week and listened to them last week. Loretta Bacchiocchi. Loretta has a master's degree in nursing and in public health. And she's also an emergency room nurse and a professor at the Florida Hospital College of Health Sciences. Welcome back again, Loretta.
Thank you for having me back. I always enjoy being here.
We had a great conversation last week with Sharon Flint, who has a master's degree in public health. She's also a registered and licensed dietitian, and she manages the Center for Nutritional Excellence at Florida Hospital right here in Central Florida. Welcome back, Cheri.
Thank you.
You know, last week we had several typical nutritional mistakes that people make, and I know I learned a lot. Again, I would really encourage those of you listening today, if you haven't heard the program, go to our website and check it out, as well as any of our other health and wellness topics that we've done in the past as well. I want to talk for a minute about the Surgeon General's report on nutrition. It was really shocking when I saw the statistics that 8 out of 10 leading causes of death were related to nutrition or alcohol. And if this is so clear, I wonder why there's so much confusion. There was a study in Reuters News recently that makes 3 points. Fads come and go. Motivators are not long-term focused. We talked a little bit about that last week. And good, sound diet information is not newsworthy. It doesn't make companies a lot of money. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that?
It's true, definitely true. When you think about it, some of the easiest things to do is just eat more fruits and vegetables, but you don't hear that message out there too often. It's more the what we shouldn't do than what we should be doing that really makes the news. And you know, again, being motivated, looking at the long haul, not just what can I do for a week, but what can I do the rest of my life. People just, they don't think in those terms.
Would you say that Western countries notably, but also a growing number of other countries, are simply taking care of themselves, managing their self-care by popping pills? We have pharmaceutical companies and others who promise we can take care of your symptoms if you just pop this pill or that pill. Are people running away from their accountable taking care of the fine-tuned machines of their bodies by the convenience of popping supplements or pain pills?
Yes, I think so. When you look at the industry, like just the supplement industry, I mean, that's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so those messages are out there where people get the idea I can eat how I want as long as I'm popping a pill, and research doesn't bear that out.
How much is really absorbed in the system when you take a supplement versus eating the real food?
Not a lot.
There's actually some claims that what is even said to be in the package may not even be what is contained in those pills.
Because it's not a regulated industry,
exactly.
is it? Mm-hmm. So that's interesting stuff, and I hope for those of you who, now some people are on supplements for various medical conditions that they have.
There are times when it's important to be on supplements. If you have anemia, obviously an iron supplement can be beneficial. However, just to think you can pop a pill and continue to eat however you want, that research doesn't bear that out.
Let's talk about the optimal diet. Last week we talked about all of these different areas, and I want to kind of summarize, if we could, what's the optimal diet for people to eat? If they could just have a sort of an overview, a 30,000-foot view of everything we talked about, what would it look like?
Well, definitely more plant foods. You want most of what you eat to be carbohydrates, and that means more plants because that's what our body prefers as energy. We were created that way to utilize carbohydrates as the energy. Then you want a little bit of good protein sources, and again, looking at plant protein sources, and then healthy fats.
People think they need to eat meat to get protein.
Right.
What we learned last week is that people need more carbs than they realize, and often they need to pick the right carbs. But a lot less protein is needed, right, in our diets.
Yes.
So a meat-based diet, really, in Western countries, there's a high content of meat consumption. And although a vegetarian diet is found to be the most healthy way to live, wouldn't you say that the lowest amount of meat you consume is best, or none at all?
Right. And research bears that out also.
Yes, it does.
Because we know a high meat diet is putting people at higher risk for heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and the list goes on and on.
But we should not make the mistake of believing that, oh, just because I don't eat meat and I eat a vegetarian diet, but I'm going out and having this, pasta Alfredo and, my baked potato with all that sour cream on it, I'm vegetarian, therefore, I'm at less risk.
And
we're talking about a healthy vegetarian.
And how about those veggie meats?
Well, they can be high in fat and high in sodium, which can be a problem.
So they're not always a healthy alternative to eat too much of that.
Right.
Because you
don't want to eat too much of anything. I mean, you want balance, definitely balance.
If you were going to overdo it on anything, it would be fruits and vegetables, wouldn't it?
Right.
I've
Probably
heard
your safest.
Yeah.
I heard Dr. Hans Deal say you can eat more and weigh less.
Oh, definitely.
On his proposed diet regimen, which includes a lot of fresh vegetables and fruits.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into some tips that for the rest of our program today. I think that one of the challenges for young adults is how do we take all this information that we hear about from experts like yourselves and incorporate that in a practical way with all the stress, with all the multitasking, with the young families that we're raising, whatever the American dream might look like or dreams that people have. Nutrition is not an option if you want to live well in other areas of your life. We can't just look at nutrition as just one of those least evil vices in life that we just kind of leave it on the side. We notice when we feel bad that we need to make changes, but how do we keep that in front of ourselves and be conscious and intentional as we go about our lives?
One thing I have actually told my students, I teach a health and well-being class at Florida Hospital College, and I'm actually less shocked every semester when I start and I kind of get a feel of how they're doing. But what I'm actually finding is that if you really want to make a change, if you actually write that down and share that with other people, put it on the refrigerator door, make it a well-known fact that you're trying to implement this in your life, make this change so that you have accountability for that. So it's not, last week, for example, I had them give me a choice for the week and didn't tell them I was going to hold them accountable for it. Came back the next week and I asked them, how many of you went through with these decisions about improving your nutrition? And most of them admitted they hadn't. So I said, okay, now I'm going to hold you accountable next week, so I want to see what happens. So I think if you can actually envision a goal and then
tell somebody about it,
write it down, make sure that you're accountable to somebody for it.
So one of the things that you brought up when we were planning for this program is to start little by little and don't try to do everything at once.
That's excellent.
And that's a big mistake that people make, thinking that they have to do all or nothing. I have to go from whole milk to skim milk overnight, and that's not going to work. Or I'm eating no vegetables now, I'm eating 10 vegetables a day. Well, they're going to feel very uncomfortable because of the increase in fiber, but who's going to be able to do that? So look at those little baby steps that you can take week by week, even day by day, to make a difference. And we know it takes close to a month to change behaviors. And so it's going to be a matter of giving yourself plenty of time to adjust to that change and not just throw your hands up going, I can't do it.
I often use the term replacement principle as opposed to cold turkey.
Oh, yeah.
Most people who try to adopt a whole vegetarian diet are gonna give up, aren't they?
Yes.
You had a great story that I loved when you and I were talking about this doctor who came to you and said that he has to have his bowl of ice cream every day and was feeling guilty about it. I loved what you told him.
So I told him, well, fine. put blueberries on top of it. Start there. Make it healthier. Start where you are and look at what you can add. The brain deals in positives much better than it deals in negatives. If I say, do not think of a pink elephant, what are you doing? You're thinking of a pink elephant.
I'm trying the best I can.
So if I have a hamburger, put what? Some lettuce and tomato on
a lot
it.
of lettuce and tomatoes, right? Or have a side salad with it. So think of, this is what I can do, not so much in terms of this is what I can't do.
Right. I want to get into more of those takeaway specifics for our listeners. Let's talk about a topic that we didn't have time last time as we launch into these tips to take away for our listeners. Fresh is best. Another typical mistake you're finding in your practice, people thinking they have to always have fresh produce. What are the issues with that versus using frozen veggies and fruits?
Well, there is emerging research that shows when you look at the nutritional content, especially when we get into like antioxidants and some of those phytochemicals, those types of compounds, that frozen may retain a tad bit more nutrients than fresh. And that's because fresh is harvested, it gets put on a truck, it may go cross country to the grocery store, it sits on the shelf a day or two, you take it home, and if you're like all the rest of us, it sits in your refrigerator maybe 3 or 4 days before you eat it. It can be losing nutrients because some are lost by exposure to air, some to sunlight, but when it's harvested and frozen,
immediately it locks in the nutritional value.
Right, and we know, let's take lycopene. We know that lycopene is very high in tomato products, and when lycopene is heated up, our body absorbs more of that, which is why it helps lower the risk for prostate cancer in men. You know, raw tomatoes, your body's going to absorb some, but not as much. The heated, you know, the stewed tomatoes, the tomato soup, the marinara sauce, your body actually, it releases the lycopene so you can absorb more. And when you're looking at vitamins and minerals, yeah, the frozen probably is going to be a little bit higher.
That's actually encouraging for those of us listening today who are very busy. Getting frozen veggies and fruits and putting them in your freezer, if what you're saying is accurate, that's a lot more convenient, isn't it?
Right.
Than having to go to the grocery store every few days to get fresh bananas and fresh fruit and veggies.
Exactly. I think another thought that Cheri had brought out when she and I were talking that I think is great is that then there's those people who maybe canned is all that they can do, you know, maybe financially. I know I have a lot of students who are very financially strapped, and so I like to tell them, look, if canned is all you can get, well, then go for canned. I'd rather have you get that than nothing at all.
Sure. I mean, if you're in the middle of Wisconsin, it's the middle of the winter, and you're, 5 feet of snow, canned probably is going to come in pretty handy. And it's better to eat a canned vegetable than no vegetable at all.
That's very good counsel. While we're talking about vegetables and fruits, we're going to unpack more about the value of this part of our diet, which really should be the most that we consume, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
So we want, hopefully all of you will stay with us, because after the break, we're going to take you through 5 tips for sustaining nutritional change in your life. You're listening to Hope on Fire. Welcome back to Hope on Fire, relevant talk radio for young adults. With me here in the studio today, Loretta Bacchiocchi and Sharon Flint. Welcome back, guys. Are you having a good time?
Oh yeah.
We were talking before the break about fruits and veggies, and interesting food for thought, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're really hoping that we're whetting everybody's appetite for this food for thought.
And we're full of puns on this program today, I can tell. You know, I was having my blood drawn a few days ago, and not my favorite activity. By any stretch. Needles are my least favorite thing to have to deal with. But while I was there, I saw a little snippet, a little brain teaser, and it said, how many miles a day would you guess that blood flows through the human body? And it put up an answer, 5,000 miles. And so I was distracted and bored waiting for my blood to be drawn. What else do you do when you're like biting your fingernails waiting for your blood to be drawn? But so I thought, well, yeah, that sounds reasonable. And when the answer came back a few seconds later, it said 60,000 miles a day.
Oh, wow.
More than 2 times around the world. Your blood travels throughout your body, and what an amazing machine God made.
And just think, when you gain weight, every time you put on extra pounds, your body has to actually manufacture more capillaries and travel even further. You can significantly increase how many extra miles, you have to pump blood with the extra weight that you put on.
When you think about those implications, it's not surprising then that the heart is at great risk when we gain weight.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As far as heart attack and heart failure. It's amazing. Let's get back into these 5 tips that so our listeners can take some practical things away. Before the break, you brought up a couple of things about things that you can do on an everyday basis regarding your fruits and vegetables. Now, this is really the element, the type of food that you should be eating more of than anything else every day, isn't it?
Right, definitely. Because
if you overdid it on one type, this would be the one.
Your fruits and vegetables.
So you could eat frozen, canned if you don't have the money to get fresh or frozen, but however you get it, get enough of it.
Get it, right.
Now, you mentioned 3 different tips that people can do every day to try to get their servings in a practical sense without having to give up everything.
Right.
You mentioned a guy that loved to eat ice cream, and you told him what?
To put blueberries on top.
What else could he put on it? Strawberries, right?
Right. Any fruit would be great. Vegetables probably not so good.
And that's intention. Well, I suppose somebody could.
There may be someone out there that likes spinach on their ice cream. Who knows?
Well, then you have somebody who whatever the other food might be, you put more veggies on your plate to leave less room for unhealthy food, right?
Right. Exactly.
In Italy, they actually put salad on. They have an arugula pizza that they actually put fresh salad right on top of the pizza.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I tell people that all the time. If you're going to have pizza, go ahead and load it with vegetables. At least you're adding something healthy to that. Maybe make it thin crust. So,
well, let's talk about that. If you're going to actually deal with cheese, if you're into dairy, and we'll get into dairy here in a couple minutes. If you're going to have pizza, I've seen that the thin crust pizza is far less unhealthy than the thick crust, right?
Yes, it is, right, because the crust, especially the thick crust, it's loaded with calories and fat.
Okay.
It's not just all carbohydrate.
Let's get back to the last item on fruits and veggies. Salad bars are a popular way. People think they're doing their body well when they go.
Right.
What's the deal with iceberg lettuce, and what is it with the stuff you put on your salad that's dangerous?
Well, yeah. A good rule of thumb, especially with salads, the darker, richer color in that vegetable, it's going to be healthier. So iceberg is a pretty pale color. So you want to go with the spinach, the romaine, those mixes, even like shredded purple cabbage, put some carrots, get a lot of different colors, but then watch out for the fats.
So people put a lot of cheese and condiments.
Eggs, right, salad dressing. Nuts and seeds are great. That would be a much better.
A handful a day.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know about you, but most salad bars also have all those other cute little salads that they have,
right.
Loaded
with mayonnaise.
Right.
Yeah, all the pre-mixed salads. Yeah, those are
You can easily eat 2,000 calories at a sitting with a salad, and you think, oh, all I had was a salad.
So the next item is eating as close to natural as possible. Now, this would be everything other than fruits and veggies. I heard you mentioned one of your colleagues, a physician at Florida Hospital, Monica Reed, says to eat as close to the ground as possible.
Right, and basically what she's telling people is eat foods, whole foods, closer to their natural state. That's going to give you the maximum health benefit.
Okay, so what do we mean by all of the carbohydrates basically that you're trying to get in your diet? Whole grains, what else?
Fruits and vegetables. Nuts and seeds
beyond the fruits and vegetables, we've got what?
Legumes.
Whole grains, beans, nuts and seeds. Now, how much of that do you need every day? Obviously, you need carbohydrates, right? In large quantities, but how many fruit, nuts, and seeds do you need to be eating to get the food value in that?
With nuts and seeds, the benefit there is the heart-healthy fats, and also they are a fairly good protein source, so they're a good plant protein without the cholesterol and saturated fat. And, a little bit, in fact, a great study, the Adventist Health Study, has found that 5 times a week, about 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup of nuts 5 times a week, greatly reduces your risk for heart disease. So you don't even have to be doing it every day. The trick is don't eat the whole can of Planters peanuts at one sitting, right? Just that little small handful.
Isn't it true that most people think more is better?
Yes.
If it's something that does the heart good or the body good, we think that eating more is better.
And there's the Adventist Health Study found that there was not an additional benefit when you had nuts and seeds every day. that 5 times a week, that's kind of where you maxed out the health benefits. So you don't have to be doing this every single day.
But probably all of this, the fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, should probably make up about 70% of your daily, of your daily meal. The rest of it being made up by, fats and protein.
Right, your healthy fats. Yeah.
Let's talk about dairy for a couple minutes. A lot of stuff in the press. You can get organic versus, and dairy without hormone components. That I guess the stuff in milk that they give cows in conventional setting apparently helps the cow to produce more milk, right?
Right.
That can be dangerous. Some studies show.
Because it's passed on to humans, right?
So what's the deal with dairy? What should people think about as a takeaway relative to eating dairy products?
Well, for me, what I like to stress to individuals as a nutritionist is that we really only recommend dairy products for calcium intake. And we now know, based on hard scientific evidence, you can eat plant sources of calcium as long as you're getting the appropriate amounts, and your bones will be just as healthy.
Didn't one of you mention there's research that shows that drinking milk can actually leach calcium from your bones?
Protein.
Yeah, in the China study, there's research that shows that, yes.
And who wrote the China study for our listeners so that they'll know?
Dr. Campbell?
Yes, that sounds right. Yes.
That one will scare you straight, won't it?
Yeah.
The China study has some powerful research.
And further, actually, the China study also shows that there's a strong correlation between early intake of milk in infants and linking it to childhood onset diabetes, I mean type 1 diabetes. So, yeah, I don't know that dairy is really the wonder food that we think it is. I think it's more of a special interest politics pushing it as
well,
this
I think it's
wonderful.
important for people to realize that they can be very healthy without using dairy if that's what they choose to do.
Right.
And soy products are a good alternative to dairy?
Soy milk can be, just make sure that it is fortified with calcium because soybeans are naturally lower in calcium. So you want to make sure that you're getting several hundred milligrams of calcium per serving, which would then give you the equivalent to cow's milk.
Okay. Let's talk about portion size. By the way, step 2, again, eating as close to the ground, natural whole grains, legumes, and nuts and seeds. That would be, those are simple things you can do along with your salad bar every day to get more fruits and vegetables. Third thing, portion size. What do you teach your patients, your class, in regards to this being a strategy, a simple strategy that people can start immediately?
Well, one thing that I have found works well, and even children can grasp this, is look at your plate, divide it in half. Half of it should be vegetables, and that can be one vegetable, that could be your salad, that could be 2 or 3 vegetables, but half should be vegetables. Then the half that's left, divide it in half again, and that fourth of a plate would be your whole grain or a potato, sweet potato, white potato, and then the other fourth would be your protein, and hopefully more often than not a plant protein source.
Okay. So, I was reading the Wall Street Journal recently mentioned a new book that just came out called Mindless Eating. And fascinating. It says that people make 200 food-based nutrition decisions per day, but only 10% of them are intentional that they're making.
Right.
It gives a couple of interesting tips about leaving the serving bowls in the kitchen intentionally so that it's more of a hassle to get up for seconds.
Right.
Another thing it said was to not bring food and eat while you're watching TV. And what is it about that?
Well, when you're watching TV, your mind is focused on that, and probably everyone has at one time or another opened a bag of chips while they're watching TV, and before they know it, the whole bag is gone. And we have found watching TV, especially with children, can be a problem as far as weight gain. That is one of the big things we stress in childhood obesity is to never eat in front of the TV, or if you're sitting down around the table, do not have the TV on.
Great, great. Slow down. That's item 4.
Yeah.
We've got less than a minute left. Slowing down is a big deal, isn't it?
And I think that really plays in with that portion size because it takes about 20 minutes for your stomach to feel like it's full.
Right. For your brain to send that message to the stomach takes 20 minutes. So if you're eating slower, you're going to consume fewer calories.
Right.
And of course, you can't finish the program without basically making sure that people understand that exercise really helps you to combine the whole process to enhance the nutritional value of improving your diet.
And I do want to just really quickly say, again, get an accountability partner, write that goal down, make it known so that somebody can hold you accountable to it.
And small baby steps.
Yeah.
I want to thank my special guest, Cheri Flint, for being on the program today. And Loretta Bacchiocchi, as always, it's a pleasure.
Thanks. It's a pleasure for me, too.
You know, with so many concerns and stresses in life, sometimes food seems like one of the least evil vices to worry about. But research has proven that food can affect your mood, and strangely, your mood, in turn, can influence the types of food you choose to eat. Surely, then, nutrition must be one of the great battlegrounds that could play a part in our eternal destiny. Change is hard, friends, but God is with you, and He has promised to give you the courage and the ability if you're willing to change. All you have to do is ask Him. In 2 Chronicles chapter 16, verse 9, the Bible says, "The eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth to strengthen those who are loyal to Him." As always, we love to hear from you. If you have comments or questions about our program, please shoot us an email to feedback@hopeonfire.org. God bless you all.
Hope on Fire is produced by Livestreams Media, a listener-supported ministry. To download a free copy of today's program or be a part of our social network, please visit our website at hopeonfire.org. You may also contact us by writing to Livestreams Media, P.O. Box 608513, Orlando, Florida 32860. Once again, that's Livestreams Media, P.O. Box 608513, Orlando, Florida 32860, or online at hopeonfire.org. Thank you so much for your letters and continued support. Until next time, may God set your hope on fire.